G'day guys, welcome to another episode of the Pumped on Property Show. Now today I sit down with a good friend of mine and colleague, Hayden. Hayden's been with us for the last 6.5 years here at Pumped on Property and literally talked to thousands of investors about asset allocation, market selection, and helping them go from where they are today to where they want to be longer term. Now, what I love about Hayden's story is he grew up on a monster farm in South Australia, pretty much in a town of under 2,000 people, and then went out and bought his own investment property at just 18 years of age. Fast forward to today, Hayden's built an incredible property portfolio with a couple of projects that he's focusing on at the moment, where he's going to take one residential house and turn it into 4 townhouses. What I loved most about sitting down and doing this podcast with Hayden is just how differently he sees the world of investing compared to myself and Simon. And throughout this podcast, he actually shares 10 of the most important lessons that he's learned from literally speaking to over 1,000 investors in our business in the last 6 years. One of the things that I love that Hayden touched on in this podcast was this idea of the way that the wealthy investors that we've worked with look at asset allocation. On top of this, Hayden talked about a few things that I'd never actually heard about before, like this idea of a fixed gear mindset and slow productivity, which I absolutely loved. I think you guys will really enjoy this podcast with Hayden, and I'm looking forward to having him back really soon. So we were just saying off camera that it's been 6.5 years that you've been working with us at Pump now. Hayden's role is probably like the defensive leader of the business. So effectively, you would have spoken to way more than 1,000 investors now. And I've thrown you under the bus that many times, bro, that it's kind of just, welcome again. I know that being on camera or being on video isn't like what you normally do, but I know you love having super deep, meaningful convos with your family, the small number of clients you help each week, and the convos we have are the best in my life. And so it'd just be cool to ask you, from your perspective, some of the biggest lessons that you've learned, because you've talked to people that are first timers that are earning literally 50K per year, that have somehow managed to scrape together 50 or 70 grand of savings. And you've worked with other clients that are like 23 worth 25 million bucks. And then you've worked with everyone in between: business owners, investors, doctors, accountants, international investors, like couples, singles, people buying in trusts, people buying in companies, people developing, people flipping. You've sort of seen it all. So, what's the first lesson that you've learned around, noticing the pattern as you coming from the accountant background across those 1,000+ people around goal setting?
Thanks for having me back on, mate. Keen to be here.
I know this is uncomfortable, mate, so well done.
No, I appreciate it.
It's not going to be uncomfortable after 1,000 more, though.
That's it, yeah. Good to get out of my comfort zone. Like you said, I've spoken to over 1,000 people now since being here, so you'd hope that I'd picked up at least a couple of things along the way. So the first thing that you said was around goal setting. I want to touch on. So it's a very broad topic. It's like, set a goal. It's like there's so many different ways of doing it, what works, what's not. So everyone that we speak to has goals. I've seen some work, some don't. So what I've learned, I guess, firstly, there's actually setting the goal, and then it's doing the thing. So
we went and saw Chris Williamson. Chris Williams?
Yeah, Chris Williamson.
Chris Williamson recently down in Brizzy together, and he said, talking about the thing is not doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like studying for the thing is not doing the thing. And I
Sure.
think we both took that probably way more than anything. We're both definitely action takers, as are most people listening to this. But, what's your sort of advice between the people that you've seen like really succeed and follow through and achieve the things that they wanted to? Because obviously your background in super high level sport, as well as very, very high level investing. Like, what have you seen that's worked in both arenas?
Yeah, so one thing that works is when setting the goal, I find that over a longer, if time frames are too long or too short, it doesn't work. So if it's like a 3-year goal, it's kind of like, oh, it's so far away. Like, it doesn't matter if I don't do anything today. Like, I've got time.
Yeah.
And on the other end, it's like, if you set a goal for 2 weeks, it's like, you can't really make meaningful progress in 2 weeks. So it seems to be that sweet spot's around that 3 to 6 month range, where it's like far enough away that you can make meaningful change, but not so far away that you just don't like not going to be interested in it because it's so far away.
How do you personally set goals in your own life? Because you and I set goals from a categories of life and also a values based perspective, which we'll talk about more in the potty, but how do you personally go about setting goals? Because you've got big health goals, you've got big, wealth goals at the moment, which are quite new again. And obviously you're a family man with 2 kids. Like, how do you sort of balance them and what do you do?
Yeah, so personally for me, I aim for that 3 to 6 month range, and then I aim for them to be so they can't be like vague, like get in shape, get fit, or something that just means nothing. So they've got to be specific for one. So I make sure that they're specific. Yeah, so I want to really find that balance between making sure that they're achievable, but then also something that's kind of like pretty hard. So you want to be something that you're absolutely stoked to achieve. So sometimes you can make them too hard, and then it's like it puts you off because it's a bit hard. And other times you don't make it too easy because then it's like, well, what's the point if you're not actually going to be happy to be there? So in terms of actually setting the goals, it's basically as simple as be specific, do it over a 3 to 6 month range, and find that balance for me between it being achievable, but then also something that I'd be absolutely stoked to achieve.
I like that. Like, I know we've talked about that before. Like, there's no point moving towards something that isn't exciting and values vision orientated. Like, but some things, like at the moment, obviously, like health is a really big, binary 1 or 0 thing that you're working towards. So, like, explain how you do it. Like, do you write it down in your notes? Do you put it on a piece of paper? Do you like voice record your goals to yourself? How do you go about like going, okay, this is where I want to be, and then reverse engineering it backwards?
Yeah, so me personally, I have it in my notes in my phone, and then I have it up in my whiteboard in my office here. Just try to make it as visual as possible. So just when I randomly see it on my phone or around the house, it's like just that constant little visual reminder that it's there for me. So that's what I try to do. I do, like for the health side of things, I try to just, like I said, be specific. So I have like, I want to, this certain exercise, I want to do that certain amount of reps and weight by that time. It has to be like very specific like that. Same as financially, it's like save this amount of money by this time, like sell this house and buy this asset class, like just very specific. And then when I'm trying to actually achieve them, there's 2 things that I think are important. So we can all do what we want to do when it feels good.
Yeah.
And
Which isn't most days for most of us. Like, most times you've just had a shocking night's sleep last night. You're like, do I really want to get on camera and do this? And it's like, well, a lot of life is just showing up when you're not feeling it. And you said something yesterday about that with your training, which was like, half the time I don't feel like I'm putting in my best session, I'm getting my best recovery, but the results from just showing up is what's working for me. And I think it's the same in real estate.
Exactly right. Like when you often the time when you're setting the goals is when you feel good and you want to do it. So it's easy it's easy to like, goal setting's like kind of procrastination as well. It's like you're just feeling good, you're inspired, but then it's like actually doing the thing, and most of us can't do the thing when we don't feel like it, to be honest. And the one thing that I find all the successful people we work with do is just create accountability. That's literally as simple as that. It's like if you're paying for the thing, if you're telling all your people about it, like if you have an accountability partner, post it on your social media, like just get it out there, pay for it, create that accountability. It's the number one thing that works. Because right now with my health goals, like I used to be half consistent in the past, but now with a family, I'm tired. So a lot of the time I'm sick. Like there's all these things that come up, and it's like I don't feel good most of the time. But I'm paying like this guy $300 a month for the programming to check in with me daily, and it's like if I get to a point where I don't want to do it, it's like, well, I pay for this. So I'm a bit of an idiot if I don't. I'm like, I got to do it.
I'm still paying for it, whether
it.
lucky they take it out of my bank account.
Yeah. So
what do you reckon the biggest thing that stops people from an investment perspective moving forward with their financial goals? Because health goals and financial goals are very similar, and there's a lot of people that are very, very good with health and really bad with money. There's a lot of people that are really good with money that are bad with health.
Yep.
But I see them as a complete crossover. They're the 2 easiest areas in my life to go binary on and go, this is what I'm working towards. It's much harder to like measure if my wife is into me today or if she's like, fuck off because I'm being a pest again.
Yeah. So I think the biggest things, one's creating the accountability, and then secondly, not having rigidity. Like people, when they're setting goals, it's like doing this time of the day. It's so specific and precise that it's not life. Like things come up. You're not gonna do everything perfectly every day. So it's like being flexible with yourself, giving yourself some grace. And it's like you miss a day, it's fine. It's like, so for me, I come in here, my ideal is to say exercise at lunchtime at 11 o'clock. Some days there's a lot on, I just don't do it for whatever reason. And then it's like, it's okay, be flexible. Tonight when the kids go to bed, I'm going to get the session in. And it's like,
Love that.
just not beating yourself up when you miss something, because you can't have, like, fair enough, if you're like a 40-year-old single guy living on your own, you can have this perfect duty schedule, but it's like most of us have families, partners, like things come up. So just it's okay to be flexible. And if you miss a day here and there, just don't miss twice. And yeah, I guess those two things for me have made the biggest change in my goal setting. Is just creating accountability and just having flexibility, like taking the pressure off a little bit.
So for the 3 people that are listening to this right now, plus my mum, what are your financial goals for the next 6 to 9 months, and what are your health goals? Just as like putting it out there.
Caught me off guard. No, so health-wise, I've kind of broken it up. Like in the past, I used to be like, I want to be super fit, I want to be super strong, and it was just too much. So I've started off this year, my health goals were specifically to finish a 50K ultra marathon, and I was focused on running, and I did the required runs each week, and I got that done. And now my next goal is putting muscle back on, because I'm naturally a skinny kind of guy. So if I don't do anything, I just drop weight. So yeah, I've basically just got some specific goals around, there's like 4 or 5 main lifts that I do. So number of pull-ups, push-ups, like a bench press, just simple basic exercises that I want to be able to do a certain amount of sets and reps by the end of this year is what I've got.
And when you do your next ultra marathon, are you planning on losing or not losing your toenails?
Yeah.
Hayden came in and he's like 6 weeks before this ultra marathon, he's like, I'm going to do an ultra marathon. I'm like, I thought the biggest run that you've done to date is about 9Ks. And he's like, I'm just signing up and doing it.
Yeah.
And you did go and do it. And it's so funny after it, you're like, I'm thinking about doing 2 ultras a year, but not training for them. I just showed up. And I'm like, well, I did see you hobble around for 8 weeks after it, so is it worth it?
5 months on, my knees are still sore, and I'm like, well, maybe not that, but thinking the race as well was going to just be this nice, like steady, just running through the mountains, not like hill climbs, freaking foot deep mud on my far
It was boring, like for days before it.
Yeah,
You're like,
that was rough. Yeah,
that was rough. But what did you learn from that about character, like, and about completion? Because you did finish it.
yeah. That I know it's a common thing online, but you're about 40% done. When you feel like you're done, you're actually about 40% done. Like you've got so much more in you. I was like, my knees were hurting that much at like the 22K mark, and just wanted to stop, but I was kind of just stuck out there away and kind of had to finish it. And
You were literally 20K stuck in it, which there was.
I was like, well,
You were still going 22K back to get out of there.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, hobbling down the hill and got through it. And yeah, we can all just do so much more than what we think. Like I think we naturally get into certain parts of our life where we have this certain standard, but if you get yourself out of that, surrounding yourself with different people, achieving like things that are way harder than you've ever done, you quickly realize that we can all do a lot more than what we think we can do.
100%. And we've seen it, like Ben, who worked with us for years and years, like just decided to start running one day about 2 years ago, and he has been doing some really cool stuff, like 24-hour stuff, like ultra stuff, and he still loves his mobility, he still loves his like strength training, he's still got like a really healthy, balanced life. But it's inspiring when someone just fully goes all in, which isn't that normal. Like most people, and you and I have drawn this up many times for the team, like I'm doing these actions like people can see what I'm doing. And I'm listening to you, bro, describe it. But, you draw a circle, and inside that circle is your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then most people do something like you did with the ultra. And I'm saying 6 weeks, but I know you'd been doing some big running, and you've got Ben and your brother around you that are ultra runners. So it's like you didn't just wing it. And then there's like something like that's like we probably haven't put enough into it to, it's just super, super, super uncomfortable for the body and the mind, but that's actually when we grow as well. And then there's this sweet spot, which I read in a book, which is like just outside the comfort circle. You can come off the circle. It sort of looks like a little flower petal, and you are slightly uncomfortable mixed with comfort, and you sort of ebb and flow, and that's how you can create consistent change. It's sort of like, instead of walking directly up some stairs, it's like a spiral staircase going up. You're still moving forward, but you're doing it in a more comfortable way.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And I find that circle, if you're just out of that comfort zone most of the time, then every now and then you do those big events that are way out of the comfort zone, combination of those two, if you consistently do that, that circle kind of grows and grows, and then you can actually end up like doing more than what you thought was comfortable. Like what you thought was comfortable years ago is walk in the park now, and then things that you thought were uncomfortable years ago are now comfortable because you've just like operated in that zone for a long period of time.
I love that. And they say that like when your comfort zone, like when I'd say in investing, like my comfort zone is in everybody else's uncomfortable zone, and so is yours, and so are most people's listening to this.
Yep.
Because we are trying to take action and get past, one or two investments, which is the average Australian's portfolio.
Yep.
But yeah, I think one thing that you said that I was really intrigued to like hear about is this idea of like a second lesson you've learnt, and I think I can relate to this one in a negative way. It's the fixed gear mindset. Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So how many people do we know that have a money like financial goal? They get to that, it moves in the future. They have this stake in the ground where it's like, once they get this amount of net worth, I'm there, I'm free. And then they get to that
Both
stake,
of
they
us
pick it
right
up, and they
now
launch
talking.
it. Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
we'll get to the two projects that you're planning on doing in a second.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm big one of them.
Yeah, and it's a dangerous place to be. So the idea of a fixed gear mindset is if you've got one thing that you're focusing on. So you might have spent 10, 20 years of your life focusing on making money, trying to like get to this position, this dream position.
Yeah.
And of course you're going to keep moving the goalposts. If you've spent years, decades focusing on that one thing, it's like, it's habitual. It's human nature to be like, it's who I am now. Like it's part of my self-worth is this thing. So of course, once I get there, it's going to move into the future because that's all you are. Like for
It's
some
your
people,
identity's so wrapped in it.
in that one thing, which to me, I definitely don't want to be in that place.
Yeah.
So one way to go against that, to basically rectify that, is this idea of identity diversification. So having other things where you can basically where you can make progress and feel good about, completely separate to the money stuff.
Yeah.
Then allows, so say for me, for example, I have other values as you do with your family, with your friends, like with your fitness, training, like
Holidaying.
other random holidays and skills that you're trying to learn. If you have all these things that you treat equally as making money might be only like 20% of your identity. And it's like, once you're there and you've got your financial goal, then you should have a higher likelihood of being like, cool, I'm there. Now I can basically like, that one thing isn't who I am. Now I can like put a little bit more attention to some of those other things and like learn that other skill, or like, yeah, go achieve something different.
You're one of the best people that I've ever seen transition. So I literally had to type into Google, how do I slow down? Because I don't have an off switch with this stuff. Like I'm such an addict in dopamine and cortisol that I could just keep it on until it crash and then spike it back up. And so you've taught me a lot from being around you for the last 6.5 years, how to go enough's enough in that category.
Good.
And then to focus on another one and to actually get, I don't have the sort of balance that you have in your life, but I have, my version of within that. And I think the what do you call it? The diversification. Identity has helped me go, I'm not just a property investor, which like most people label me as. In fact, that's like a small part of my identity now. It's just something that I sometimes do when I see blood in the water.
Yeah, and that's a great place to be. Like you've sort of, you're adult around where your financial goals are, and you've got these other epic things that you work on, and that's where you want to get to. Like you see so many people that are 60, 70, 80 years old that have just given their whole life to this thing for a while. So, and another trap that comes along with that is, if you are just focused on the money game, a lot of the time your friend group and who you hang out with is people with more increasing levels of money as well. So it's like, you might be near your goal, but then now you're hanging out with all other people that are out or ahead of you, which just means what you say you used to might go out for dinner and get takeaway with your friends at your house. Now that becomes like a $300 lunch, because that's the social kind of thing that you do at that level. So I think it's important to hang out with people that are just totally different, like that have expertise in. They don't have to have money or wealth at all. They might just have expertise in this random thing that they're amazing at, and then you just hang out with them and talk about that thing. And it's like spreading that identity across different things.
Do you know what, man? Like, too much of my identity has been tied into our business at the moment, because we did open a new market, new staff, new offices, and it's been a bit intense. Like, and you've seen that. Like, I've been a bit sharper than normal. Like, it's unfortunately like when you're in the fight, you're sort of in it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of my good mates that comes over like most weeks is he spent almost the last 20 years in and out of like Buddhist monasteries around the world. Currently, he works 2 days a week, and he sort of hardly even works.
Yeah.
And then he's like living in his car at the moment. We helped him buy one house and put a granny flat on it years ago, and he's like, oh, I've got enough. Like, I'm
Yeah, that's
sweet.
perfect.
And just having his mindset around, like our shared values is philosophy, spirituality,
Yep.
health. And he's just thinks so differently to me that it's constantly like pulling me out of my way.
Yeah, and that's it. And even if you don't fully align 100% with something like that, it's just great to like see that different perspective. And
Yeah, he thinks I'm an absolute idiot in the way that I'm living my life, and I think he's like a man child. And we say it to each other, and it's like it's so healthy to have different perspectives.
yeah, well, and I have the same with my brother-in-law Matt. Like he's achieved his financial goals now, and has not moved the goalpost at all. And he travels overseas 3 months of the year. He surfs every single day of the year. Like he's got these other things that his identity's wrapped up in, and he's like stoked and living an awesome life. So I think that's really important.
You know, another one of the key lessons that we've both learned is the way that wealthy people allocate assets.
Yep.
You know, some of the people that we work with aren't just doing well, but they've got intergenerational money. Some of the people we work with are part of like Family Trust, which is like a private accounting firm that just works for you, a small number of family members and friends. And some of those family units we've worked with have 600 mil to $2 billion in them.
Yeah.
And we're just this like baby fish at the bottom of the
Yeah.
pond. But, you know, when you're coming into contact with those sorts of people at those sorts of levels, what have you picked up about asset allocation and the thinking around investment strategy? Again, big caveat, this is not financial advice, although you are an accountant, just probably a deregistered one now because you're in the property space.
Yeah. So basically with asset allocation, there's kind of two options. It's like specification or diversification. And it's like, do you just put all your eggs in one basket on one thing, or do we sort of spread yourself over a lot of different asset classes? And what I see commonly and what works is that, so there's different ways of going about it. If for whatever reason you're just not interested in money and finances, but you do still want to like have a decent retirement way down the line, then diversification from the start, it works. Like we know we can get 8-9% from the S&P or whatever it works over time. You can slowly put money into that.
So what would like as someone coming through that just has that 25-year goal that's earning 100K a year combined household income, like what do you typically see them diversified into?
Yeah, so
Can't speak.
that common person that say is fine to sort of hit their financial goals over 20, 30, 40 years, like you do, it's common just to say you might buy a house, like you might buy some shares, and that's fine, and all those assets are great. But the one thing that I notice amongst the people that are getting there fast, so a lot of us do want to, I know there's no get rich quick thing, but a lot of us
We all want to get there fast, man.
quick
Like
as
let's get
possible.
real.
So people that get there fast, the one thing you see is that they do actually specify on the way up. So they basically specification to create your wealth, and then they diversify once they've achieved their wealth. So it's like if you can
Specify, you mean focusing on one thing specifically.
and get like good
Really
at it,
good at it.
be an expert, be that top 1% where you can get out to better than market returns. Or we see that with business owners in their niche business, or we see that with like in property people doing developments, or like share traders that do that for like you can get there. And the top 1-2% do get there quicker by specifying, because they can have those knowledge that the average person doesn't have, and then that lets them get outsized returns. So I think Charlie Munger said one day, like it's like diversification is just a strategy for people that know nothing. So it's like,
Exactly.
but it's great once you've achieved your goals, because then you go to wanting to protect your wealth rather than creating it. So once you're there, it's like it's totally fine to diversify, because it's okay to drop that return a little bit and protect it more. So yeah, I guess just to summarize, specification on the way up to build your wealth, diversification once you're there. It seems to be the trend that I see amongst the people that have sort of achieved
And
it.
the reason we like property, and I was thinking about this last night, right? I've been thinking quite a lot about, do I buy some gold and silver in my super, some stocks, or a property?
Yep.
And I sort of started to think about what I know, which is obviously 16 years in one thing, property. And the reason I'm in property is leverage.
Yep.
And so you and I have had this conversation hundreds of times personally, or while we're training at lunch, and that is, you know, we use property while we're young to create a big chunk of cash that we could never get through asset allocation in another class without leverage. And I know there's people that, I hear Ray Dalio all the time talk about leverage on the S&P,
Yep.
leverage on cash, leverage on bonds, leverage on commodities. I'm like, how?
Risky. Yeah.
But, when you're sitting on billions of dollars of cash, you can probably get access
Yeah.
to instruments that we can't. But for me, it's like if I go put 100K down and get $1 million asset, and make $1 million over the next 15 years, effectively, I've got a 1,000%
Yep.
return on my money. And so it's very, very different with leverage. And that's, you've always said grow the total asset value, and then, maybe spread it into some things that are a little bit easier to manage longer term.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I keep coming back to, specification in property. It's what I know, like it's what we do for a living. It's what I've researched and learned about for so long. And it's like, I hear other people talking and I can sometimes get dragged away. I'm like, should I look into like
Shiny.
Bitcoin, gold, silver, shares, all these other things? But it's like, I'm just going to get average returns in that. I'm not an expert. I don't know enough about it. So it's like with leverage, with property, with what I know, especially if it's like I've got the team and people that we can work with. It's just where I think I have an edge. So it's like for me in this stage where I'm still trying to work towards my net wealth goals, it just makes sense and for me to specify in property. And that's what I've learned from all these successful people we work with. They do the same. They become top 1% in their thing.
Yep, niche. And then I remember Dennis Waitley, who was the US Olympic coach for like 22 years. He wrote an incredible book like Winning, like something around that. I forget the title, but I used to listen to him heaps when I was younger doing the marathon training. And he said, niche in
Yep.
before you're 40, and people, once you're successful in any field of life, will let you talk about and do whatever you want to do for the rest of your life. And I know there's a lot of philosophy and a lot of ideas that get dropped in this, which people are like, man, I'm here for property stuff. And it's like, well, I love both. And it's cool. Like maybe some people will hear that just because like we have bought $600 million worth of property together in the last 10 years.
Great.
I like that concept. Let's talk about the next one, which is time in the market being more important than timing the market. Maybe we can use the example of Trent yesterday and our conversation with him sitting in the office.
Yeah, I got a new guy, Trent, who's bought like pretty much a terrible investment. Everything you don't want to do, like fully on a train line. He's like, but he bought it for 47 grand, like whatever it was,
27 years ago.
And now it's worth like 700-800K. And it's like, that just shows like time in the market is always going to be better than timing the market. It's like, we're always going to try to time the market. Don't get me wrong, but it's like above anything, just getting in and owning a quality, even if it's not a full quality asset, if you own an asset for a longer period of time, you're generally going to get outsized returns. And taking 5 years to make a decision and then buying a quality asset, like better just buying something.
People that bought at the very, very, very top of the last GFC have still doubled their money in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide. They're about to double it in Darwin.
Yeah.
Like I agree. I think, if you are obsessed with this like we both are, and you can get access to the 19 markets that we can and the 4,000 odd suburbs, then you can find a needle in a haystack if you know what you're looking for and increase your short to medium term chances of return.
Yeah.
But the long term chances are just like,
Yeah.
it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah. And I was like, even we sort of know that there's some shaky times coming up in the next 1, 2, 3 years. And for me personally, like I'm still actively trying to buy another place at the next week or two, and knowing we're coming into that because I know it's like, as long as I can afford to hold the place for years to come, I've done all my math, the cash flow on it, it works. It's like, if we have a shaky year or two, it's like, I've prepared for that, it's fine. And I know like 5, 10 years time, if I believe in the area, what I'm trying to buy, I know that that'll shine through and I'll be sweet because that's what history says happens.
We don't have to talk to the numbers, but can you just talk about this whole inner coming town plan that you were able to find? Because it is like the craziest 2 projects I've ever heard of, really.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to go into the details or where or anything because obviously there's...
Yeah, just don't release it till the auction and then wait so no one else tries to buy it.
But effectively, you found the new proposed town plan on the Sunshine Coast, and there's some radical changes in it.
Yeah.
And you've effectively got your own home at the moment, which is always going to be a stepping stone investment home.
Yeah.
That you're just raising your family in at the moment. But what can you do to that property, and maybe what's the plan for the other one?
Yeah, so we've owned a place already up here on the sunny coast, and then it's funny, like randomly the symmetrical block to ours is sort of 4 houses around the corner, but because it's on a bend, it's the exact same block, just in reverse, and that's up for sale coming up to auction. So gonna try to jag that. Yeah, with the new changes, it's 12 to 18 months away potentially from them coming in. Obviously, they've still got to actually come in, so I know they will.
Yeah.
And yeah, it pretty much just allows it allows us to basically kind of go simply from like 1 into 4 pretty much.
So 1 home to 4 properties on each of the blocks. So 2 into 8.
Yeah, so it can sort of, and they're only 635 blocks, but you can subdivide 600 blocks under this new scheme, and then we can just fit like a duplex on each side. So we got pretty lucky with the home we own. It's a bit of like an irregular block. We thought it was actually pretty average when we bought it, but now we've just lucked out, to be honest. Like all the rectangle blocks, it doesn't work, and then
two blocks in the entire beachside suburbs work, and you've found both of them.
Gonna try to jag them. So
you know, this is where that 1% an obsessive amount of interest, because you're 30 now.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you bought your first property?
I bought in my hometown when I was 18, but first real property when I was about 23, 24 up here,
Yeah. And you didn't start with a 1 into 4 development project. You started with a home in, a unit or a home in your hometown?
And there's no units in the hometown. It's only 2,000 builders.
Dude, I actually drove through your hometown recently. One of my favourite places in Australia, as you know, is Robe in South Oz. I'm just obsessed with that place. There's the best Airbnb called the Church in the Hill up there. It's just a dream. But yeah, I drove past like where you were, and I'm like, oh, that's Hayden's spot. It is just incredibly good quality, fertile South Australian farmland with no one around.
Yeah, it's actually awesome. Like you don't appreciate it as much growing up, but now I'm up here with young kids myself. It's like been able to go back there multiple times a year and
Live the
spend
farm
time on the space and chuckling you out in your farm clothes and feel like a farmer. It's awesome.
Yeah. And go for mad runs around your property and not even get to like one side. It's like ultra from one side to the other.
Yeah, we've done that. I think it is about a 15, 20K run to run around the border of the farm. So, yeah, track.
What about another thing that you've learnt around emotion and emotion killing deals for investors? You know, you've seen that time. And in fact, we see this every single week with even our small number of clients we take on.
For sure. Like
it's the hardest part of this
and
business.
for me and for you and your wife, Lisa. Like, it's just emotion.
Every single property I bought recently, I've overspent on.
Pretty much.
I actually just lost like $200,000 selling like a little holiday house on the beach up the road because we were coming home from the beach recently, and Lisa was like, let's buy it. And then I didn't like get on the renovation, so I let her do whatever, and then the builder just stitched us up. And I'm like, we don't need $1 million tied up in this joint anymore.
Well, at least you're taking action. Like a lot of other emotional wise, just the tiniest little things, like put them off buying the property. Then you wait months and months and months to find the perfect one that doesn't even exist. You end up compromising, miss the market growth in the meantime. And it's like, it just comes back to the calm numbers first investors always win. Like, you've seen, look at who we're working with at the moment, like Chris and Brian, like are buying their 6th, 7th properties with us, and they're the busiest, got so much going on, and they're just the most calmest, like pretty quick phone calls. They're just happy to listen, just trust us, do their thing, like nothing. They just don't get swept up in anything. None of the small stuff. It's like
Every
none of it
property I've ever
matters.
bought for them has doubled in value as well. Because they, I call them both the canaries in the coal mine.
Yeah.
As soon as a market has potential, they're in it 18 months before everyone else. So they got Sydney early, then they came to Brisbane with us between 2016 and 2019. And then they went to Perth for a bit, and now they're in Melbourne with us as well.
Yeah.
You know, Brian's got 500 staff, and he just sends us an email last night. Hey, Ben, 2 lines. Thinking buying another 3 to 5 properties this year.
That's so good.
Just send me the invoice and let's go.
Yeah.
And so me and you were sitting down this week to create like an ideal investment plan for him for down there to like accumulate 3 to 4, $1 to $1.5 million houses before they're worth $3 million down there.
Yeah.
And that's cool. Like, that's the stuff we love doing.
Sure. And you just learn so much from those people. It's like on the opposite, someone might have just saved the first deposit and it's like super scary and they want to have control, and it's like they get so up in their head about it and it just affects the result for sure. Whereas the other people that have that are busier and have got way more going on in their life, they just stay calm and measured. They listen and trust their advisors, and they just take action, really. So that rolls into like one of the other ones, being like your team. The team you work with does make or break you. Like the most important thing out of anything I've learned so far is basically form the right team. And those guys do that. It's like, as soon as you can let go of control of trying to do everything yourself, it's like you've got to go one way or another. It's like take on something yourself, fully learn about it and do it yourself, or find the right team and outsource it, and don't like play around in the middle, because so many people get stuck right in the middle there where they're like, they want someone to help, but then they can't let go, and it's like this really awkward thing. So if you're going to spend time on anything, it's like spend time on finding the right team, and then letting the reins go and trusting them. Like it's the biggest difference.
I like that. Like obviously I'm a control nut, as you know, and like OCD tendencies as well. And so I learned everything that I could possibly personally learn when I was starting my journey like 16, 18 years ago. And then what I learned was how to manage extremely high performing team members. So our accountant is phenomenal, like phenomenal. And I've worked with a few of them. Our mortgage brokers, even though we use different ones, are very good at what they do and like specialists at that. And then it's like solicitors and building and pest inspectors and property managers and builders. And it's like you really are only as solid as the weakest person in your team. Like I still talk to investors that own 2 to 3 properties, and they're like, don't have good tax depreciation schedules, don't have accountants that actually like do tax planning with them. They just do tax returns with them. And I'm like, those things can literally save you $20,000 a year as an investor with a few properties.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've been stuck in that trap myself lately. Like even with this development that I'm looking into at the moment, it's like I've spent hours like trying to draw out the floor plans and like see if it can work. And then it's like, I learned this lesson. I mean, like I reached out to the town planner, the builder, the designer, and shared my ideas. And then like, bang, within an hour or two, I know fully what we can do. The site layout and plans way better than what I was ever drawing after. I'm like, why do I waste my time?
I give them like, this is the box, and then I go, send me something, and then I tweak that 2 or 3 times like you would as well. So it's like you use people that are doing it day in, day out. And to pretend that you can be everything it's really difficult, but it's a trap, because most first, second, third time investors are overwhelmed by trying to get their head around it. And I think that actually leads into another one of these points that like you've learned and I've learned too. It's like no amount of market research or knowledge is ever going to take away that fear and uncertainty. I woke up at 12:30 last night wide awake because before I went to bed I was trying to solve a problem. And I woke up with the problem solved, like completely crystal clear. It's like my subconscious was working while I was asleep. And I got up and I'm like, I'm not going to go straight to sleep. So I took my dog for like a little walk on the property, just, and I think what I've realized more than anything else in my life is that why I'm referring to that, like last night, was I was feeling like a lot of uncomfortable emotions in my body. And I was just kind of like, there's ways that I can deal with that in a, like what I'd call an away decision, like a negative way, or a towards decision, a positive way. And last night I felt like I won that battle of like, I'm going to do the right thing. Like I'm going to trust, and I'm going to surrender, and I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to go back to sleep and sleep beautifully, which I did. And it was just kind of cool to recognize that. But I know as much as I could possibly know about the Brisbane market, and I'm learning a lot about the Melbourne market too. Like I feel like statistically we've got Melbourne absolutely dialed. But it doesn't mean that when I go buy that $1 million property later this year or next year, it's going to be easy for me to do. There's still that like human element that shows its face. And it's like, no matter how much information you collect, you're still gambling. Like you're still taking a punt that the future of Australian property will be better than it is today.
Exactly right. And that first bit of information gathering is what matters, and that's what we've done. And a lot of the time, like 90% of the research from there is just procrastination. We try to convince ourselves that we need to know that one last little thing, but it's like there gets to a point where you and your team, and you just need to act and make a decision, because we see that time and time again. It's just like, I want to know more. I need to know this little thing. Like I have to figure out this fine tiny little bit there with the account. It's just all these tiny little things that don't matter. Like so much of it is just letting go, getting that 90% of it right, and then just making a decision and taking action. It's like, and that's how you get that's how we've seen you get better results over time. It's like you spend all this mental energy, emotional energy, like trying to make the perfect decision, and
There's
like
no
it's just
perfect
wasted.
decision. Like what I've learned is that Darwin is going to be Australia's top performing market, short and probably medium term, right?
Yeah.
We understand that that's because it's being driven by buyers agents up there and purely speculation. Like it does have good vacancy rates, it does have good incomes, it does have a transient, diversified workforce. I get the fundamentals, and I've been to Darwin. I loved it.
Yeah.
I just I won't chase that shiny thing. Like I'm going to hit for Melbourne now because I believe that looking at the last 30 years, Melbourne's done an 459% over that time, which is the strongest performing market. And when the strongest market over 30 years has been Australia's worst in the last 8, that gets me super excited. But when I'm talking to people at the moment, the emotion that's coming up is like, why would I buy Melbourne? It's a lemon. It's
Yeah.
not performing. It's the worst monthly growth rates. It's the worst annual growth rates. It's the worst 5-year growth rates, and people hate it post-COVID. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's still Melbourne, but
Yeah,
there's still
exactly.
160,000 people
Yeah.
from overseas moving there a
Yeah.
year,
Biggest city in
loving
Australia.
it. To the students around the world, it's the number one
Yeah.
city in the world to like come and study at internationally, like over any American university, like
Yeah.
city. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
What else did you have on there, man, as some of the other things that were important to you that you've learned from these people?
Yeah, there's an idea around slow productivity that I
What do you mean
like.
by
So
that?
it's
I
like
haven't heard that.
a lot of us just trying to do too much. So same with those Brian and Chris type people that we work with. I do find that they do fewer things. They work at like a natural pace, and they just obsess over quality. So it kind of relates to some of the other ideas we've talked about. But instead of just trying to can do everything,
Yeah.
it's like pick those things that matter. Like to do fewer things and really just do them right, basically. So I do see the most successful people really focus on that. It's like, yeah, that is really staying in their narrow things that are important to them and doing it right.
I love that. And how have you been able to go from many things? Because like we can have these combos here, but then tomorrow we could both be melting down.
Yeah.
Like last year could have been a melt point. Next year could be the most beautiful year of our lives. And it's like, how do you go from all of those different ideas that you know you could execute
Yeah.
to choosing a values-based adventure in alignment with where you want to be in 10 years? Like, how have you simplified back? And I know you and I were reading like the Tao pretty much every day for a point, that Lao Tzu book, to just really get this. You seem to implement it. I'm still trying.
Well, it's definitely not easy, that's for sure.
But how have you been able to go, okay, I'm just going to focus on my family, a small amount of, that slow, what did you call it? Slow
Slow productivity. It's like,
productivity.
yeah, pick the things that matter, obsess over just those few things. I haven't been able to do it perfect for sure, but
You do it better than most though, man. Like at the expense of like cutting that thing away, cutting that thing and staying focused on what matters. Like how do you do that on a daily?
I think I just naturally am forced into it because I was sick of just spending 10 years of my life trying to do a million things and just not be able to go to sleep at night and stress and just feel shit about myself. That's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the same. I just try to, it's just learning through experience, really. I don't know. Like, we can't do everything at once, and you try to do it
Yeah.
and you just get average results. So it's like, it's purely just from seeing what has happened in the past. And I've noticed if I do try to go back to only having a few things, so for me, it's like, yeah, spend time with my family and basically trying to set up my financial future and some fitness goals. And I just try to do those 3 things at the moment. It's like, it would be cool to do more, but the second I try to add more and more, there's a point for everyone. It's different, and it's a different point for everyone. But there's a point where you're just spinning out and not enjoying it, and it just feels shit.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, mate, I felt that point in the last month, as you've seen, but I'm slowly coming back down to
yeah.
earth.
So no, I just try to naturally work at the level where it's like I just stay mentally calm and peaceful and can go to sleep happy at night, feeling content. And it's like as soon as that's gone, I'm trying to do too much, and I've just got to take something out.
I love that, the daily decrease.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, that's beautiful. Looking at some of these other things that you've written around, cash flow being king, or cash flow is king, and buying quality, not quantity. Like, what have you noticed in these 1,000 people that you spoke to that are doing that really well?
Yeah, so to touch on the quality over quantity, and me in the past too, there's a lot of investors that come in wanting to buy 5, 10 properties. It's literally just like, how many properties do we buy? Which you think about, it's just like pretty ridiculous. It's like, what's the number of properties? Like, man, it's like,
I talked to a dude last week who I really liked, and he's signing up. And he was like, I've got a goal of owning 20 places
yeah.
in the next 5 years. And I said, oh, that's an awesome goal. What's that for? And he's like, a couple $100K per year of passive income and choices. And I said, well, I can actually show you now how to do that with 3 properties. And I showed him how to get that same outcome. And he's like, what if I want to do more? And I'm like, well, when I started, I wanted to do like 1 property, and I did 19 in 16 years, and I made mistakes on like 16 out of 19, so I've sold a lot of them. But it's just interesting. It's like he owned 0 properties.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes like we can get caught in the idea. I thought more was better
Yeah.
for a long time. I know you did too. Like I know you were trying to accumulate a lot of stuff, and then it's like, actually, what are we doing this for?
For sure. Like, I want less now after seeing seeing a lot of people in this space. It's like, why would you want 400K properties for 2 million when you just have 2 $1 million properties? It's like, you get way better tenants, you're buying in a way better area, often a high quality property, often your growth rates might be higher because you're in a better spot. And it's like, cool, what? So I'm just gonna go buy like 5 crappy properties so I can tell people I've got 5 properties. Like, what's the point of that?
I think sometimes like for me, for a long time, the driver was there was identity attached to it. I was like the first person, the same as you, in like your circles to be doing like the buying and getting the properties, and
Yeah.
doing it young as well, like you did it young. Like there was a certain like false sense of security, but doing it younger and also doing many of them also made us realize that same with training. Like you could train twice a day, 7 days a week, and be completely burnt out, or you can do that slow productivity model. And I think I've taken that approach in property too, like just quality in the most undervalued markets at the right time for that market with a long-term view. And you really buffer a lot of the ups and downs of sentiment, feelings, news articles, or good or bad markets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
And what about cash flow being king? Is that why you're turning 2 places into 8?
I don't know, but I come around on cash flow a little bit. It's like when I was young,
You're the anti-cash flow for a while
Yeah.
as well.
and I guess just trying to explain that, like I kind of like capital growth is still definitely the priority. Yeah, so on cash flow, I feel like it just allows you to like you're safe in if there's a downturn. It avoids you needing to panic sell like at the wrong time. It allows so cash flow. I also view having a buffer as cash flow as well. Like if you have like 6-12 months of your living expenses as a cash buffer, it's like that gives a lot of mental peace. It's for any sort of like unexpected repairs or medical costs or anything that like come up. I nearly recommend now having that sort of buffer before even trying to buy anything. It's like get that buffer and then start to invest and go on top of that, because the amount of mental peace and calmness you get from knowing that it's like if you need to have a month off work or if anything comes up that's cost you a bit, your car blows up or you need something, it's like you can just sleep knowing that you're fine when that comes up.
Would you be in the position that you're in now when we talk about, like going back to the start of the podcast, so the risk stuff, would you be in this position at 30 years of age if you had have saved that buffer at 18 before you invested? Like, I think about that myself.
true.
Like I would highly never recommend this to anyone, but I put
Never
the
realised
stamp duty for my 3rd property on a credit card because I couldn't afford it. Like that's how backwards I was. Like I was in 13 or 14 grand of credit card debt to get that 3rd property, but that 3rd property went up 120K in the first year after my reno, and then I sold it and I bought 2 properties, and then I sold those 2 and I bought 4. Those 4 properties just paid off my dream home. So it's like it's
a double-edged sword. It's like we've done the same. Like in our early days, you save the deposit, you spend every last cent of it on the house, and it's worked out, and it does work out most of the time. But what if you spend every last cent and then something like you have something happen, diagnosis, or you need to get a new car or something, and so you just can't do it. It's like, so I don't know. I think the sweet spot's maybe somewhere in the middle. It's like maybe you don't need to have 6-12 months buffer once you buy a house, but maybe at least go back to like having a few months buffer when you put down a deposit. I think somewhere in the middle there.
I think I personally 100% now believe in buffers, but I'm just conscious of like people like me or you at 18, you started, I was 24, would just be like, man, that's my deposit, and the market's going up in Brisbane right now, 10 grand a month, in Melbourne too, and maybe even more than that in Darwin. Like,
Yeah, true.
do you save it or do you go in? And it's like it's an individual thing to talk to your accountant and financial advisor about. Ray Dalio said it in a way that I like. The money does definitely give you breathing space and sleep at night space and all those good things. But like what you really need when shit hits the fan in your life is time. And the money and the buffer gives you time. If you've got 3 months to make a decision or 12 months to make a decision, most people will be able to figure out a plan B over that time. Like if you've got 6 months, you can generally get rid of all of the properties that you need to. You can generally find a new job if you need to. You can generally figure something out. But if you're week to week, and you've got a high number of investments, like it can be really dangerous. Like some of the places that I was in, I had 3 properties and $50 a week left over. Like I'm not joking, and that was so okay at that time because I didn't know what I now know, and now I'm like, if they had to put rates up by 5% like they did 2 years ago, I would have been bankrupt straight away.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what I didn't know, and now I do. That's why we're doing this sort of content to protect people.
Yeah, I think that's the place I was coming from. I feel like as I mature into my investing career, that's what I'm starting to see. Like I didn't care at all when I was 18. I'm just like, spend every cent, get me in as soon as possible. And there's people that's still fine for it. It's like you got double income, no kids for the foreseeable future, and it's like maybe it's fine. Everyone's different in that regard, but yeah, a lot of the successful investors that we've worked with definitely do have a buffer. They do have like liquidity that they can get pretty fast in terms of basically not having to panic sell or take advantage of opportunities that come up in downturns. Or I'm more balanced in that now than what I was. So yeah, I do think the sweet spot from an investing level though is I do think capital growth is how you build wealth for sure. So you basically just want to find that sweet spot where, because we know that typically the higher the capital growth potential, the lower the cash flow. And vice versa. You get great cash flow, but you're not often in a crappy area and you mightn't get the growth. So my sort of approach and what I see a lot of people do is just basically be as negative cash flow as you possibly, like basically own the highest quality growth assets that you can comfortably afford to hold from that cash flow level. So it's like someone that's earning $1 million a year can basically go straight for those growth assets because they can cover a big shortfall. Someone not like, and it's just on that spectrum. That makes sense. So it's like, and that's what I've tried to do myself over with the houses I've bought. It's like, yeah, I do focus towards, we've had decent income. So it's like, cool, I'm going to just get 3-bed, 1-bath homes in the best location possible because I know with where I'm at, I can comfortably afford to hold those. And some people might have to go down and some people go up on that spectrum. But I think there is that sweet spot for everyone where you should be focused on the growth assets that you can afford to hold.
I love that. And I think about like the journey, because before you started working with us, you were a client with us for a few years and you did exactly that. You were double income, no kids at that time, working in South Australia before you moved up to Queensland, and you said like, I educated you on 2 different options, because at that time you could buy within 10 to 12 k's of the CBD or on the beaches. At that time the city looked more undervalued, which I think is what you did first, wasn't it? And I think you just sold that property, pretty much doubled your money. Money in the bank now. Yeah, congrats, Ray. That's awesome.
First proper amount of money in the bank, so that's good.
Tax will be interesting to pay, and then everything's cool after that.
Okay.
And then you went to the beaches and you bought a place pretty much like a walk to the beach. And then you actually chose to build a granny flat on that one as well at that time, because granny flats were cheap and the incomes are great. So, you bought that property for what, 400-ish odd K?
Yeah, 420.
And then you built the granny flat back in the good old days. Now we're talking about old guys for 120K or something. Now at that time, what was the granny flat renting for? Under 300 a week?
Yeah, around 300.
And the house would have been at about the same?
Yeah, not much at all. Yeah, 400 maybe.
What's the house renting for now and the granny flat renting for?
The house is getting 550 now and the granny flat's getting 450. they're probably both on the lower end. Got some good tenants that I'm looking after. So yeah, it's been, and that's a good lesson in why you focus on capital growth. It's like, look how much, if you buy capital growth assets that go up a lot, rent will naturally follow that over the years. And it's like, same with the first house close to the city. We paid nearly 700 for that, and it was renting for 450 at the time, and the cash flow was horrible because it was in a great area and it grown, and now it was worth over $1 million. Rent increased and increased and increased. So at the time of selling, it was like $1,050,000 asset that was renting for $700 a week, and it was positive cash flow based on what the price that I bought it at. So it's like, that's why I always believe in stretching for those capital growth assets that you can comfortably afford to hold, because over time they will grow, rent will grow, and then the cash flow will get better and better and better. So if you can afford the cash flow in the early years, typically it gets better and better over the years from there.
And we at that time chose Brisbane because up until that point it had done about, in those suburbs, about 3 to 4% per annum for the 10 years leading up to that, but over 9.5% a year for the 50 years before. And then we strategically looked at 400-500 suburbs and went, that's the needle in the haystack there at that time. And we had no idea that Brisbane rents would grow as quickly as they did. But I had no idea, because I hadn't lived it. I'd read about it, what inflation does to rents and what population growth does to rents in high quality areas. And so I think going for growth, getting timing as much as you can, and having a longer term perspective, as well as assets that, how did it feel across holding those properties plus your own home when interest rates went up? Like, I know there was a squeeze because you went down to one income as well with young kids, but that cash flow from that quality growth asset with the granny flat probably covered a huge amount of the shortfall on your own home.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and what we did back then in 2018, 19, 20, like we wouldn't have been able to do in the same market a couple of years ago. So
Yeah.
that kind of, I didn't have to deal with the consequence though, because we had the lower rates fixed for 3 or 4 years, and even coming out of that 3 or 4 years in, straight to the higher rates was a bit of a squeeze and was hard. So I'm like, well, yeah, if they weren't fixed and rates rose quickly early on, like I would have been under a little bit of pressure, and that's why, sort of in hindsight, I could see the value of protecting your cash flow and having liquidity and a buffer.
I love that. Can I ask you, like, why you decided to sell the property that you've just sold? Like, it's obviously a super personal question. I'm happy to. I'd trade property like people trade stocks. Like, I don't have no problem selling, paying the tax, reusing the money. My accountant and financial advisors would be like, it's suicide. Like, you're costing yourself millions of dollars and your family millions of dollars of future income and valuation in your wealth position. But I want to live now.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy my life now, and I want to take Fridays off and have shorter days and those sorts of things like you do as well.
Yeah. There's a number of different reasons, and wasn't a easy decision to sell. It never is easy, because we know like the in and out cost of property and the capital gains you got to pay. It's like, it
Yeah.
kind of hurts, and you are technically going backwards on your net wealth when you do that because of all the costs. So yeah, it was hard. But I just, like you said, I have other priorities now with my family and my time that I want to protect. So it didn't end up being part of the full strategic plan that I see. I didn't see myself holding that property forever. So I was like, well, if I was going to pay tax on it now or later, at some point I was going to sell it anyway. So I kind of like mentally wrote off the tax I was going to pay, because it's like, I knew I was going to pay it at some point.
And you're repurposing into a new asset, right? Like, it wasn't like you're selling it to sit all of it in the bank. Like, you actually may have a much better use for those funds now.
And that's the bet I'm willing to take, and hopefully it pays off, because the new house I'm trying to buy is a similar price to what we sold this one for. So we're basically going backwards 150 grand in fees and costs to basically trade from one to the other, which hurts. But for me, it's like that property where that was, it's nearly doubled in 6-7 years. It was starting to be a pretty high maintenance home. I feel like I got a lot out of it, and it's nearly at the peak of what that property was going to do for me. And I'm basically taking the bet with what I know and the knowledge I have and the team that I have to trade it into a house that I think is in a more scarce location, that has more development and more potential for me to create that bigger wealth in the future. So that's the gamble I'm taking. And yeah, I'm not stressed on it this time around, because I do have the extra buffers in place. I'm a lot more set up this time. So after looking into all of it, that was the call and a decision we decided to make.
I love that, mate. Like, I feel around that rigidity of mindset versus the flexible mindset that you talked about before, that you've noticed in a lot of these people that are doing really well. I think it applies to property as well. Like, obviously, selling a property for whatever, $1 million, just theoretically, in 15 years it'd be 2 mil.
Yep.
You knew in 30 years it'd be 4 mil with 5% growth per annum. But in 30 years' time, what would you look like? What would your life look like if you couldn't spend this time with your kids before they go to school? Like,
Yep.
what would it look like if you couldn't take them back to the farm every year and have beautiful holidays with the people that you care about? And I think about that a lot more now. Like, when I first started my journey, all I could see was up.
Yep.
And I think that's almost every one of these successful people we work with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, out of 1,000 people that you've spoken, it would be way more than that, but out of 1,000 people that you've spoken to, 200 of them would have transcended normal thinking on this stuff. And they're the lessons that we're really pulling today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of those people get that life is short,
Yeah.
that there's only so much you can do, and you have to focus as much as I've got, and you've got so many other ideas that we could bring to life in this lifetime.
Yep.
I love property. I love leverage. I love figuring out the needle in the haystack, the same as you. Like, I love nothing more than when we sit down and do suburb research.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotten a lot easier now that we've got so much data coming in. Thank you, AI. It used to be a lot harder to do it. It was like days and days and days.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful to live my values, to do something of service, to have these sorts of conversations during work hours, and to have seen like where you started to the person that you are now through getting uncomfortable, through doing what you said you were going to do, and through consistently taking action in all of the key parts of your life. Like, it's inspiring watching in, and it's just really cool to see what like consistent action over 10 years can do for someone.
Yeah, thank you. I love all that stuff too, but for me, like, for 25, 30 hours a week, it's like I'm here to work, to learn, to grow, to invest for that period of time. And it's like I've chosen to drop Friday and to drop Tuesday afternoons to basically have more time to doing those other things. And I might be leaving a little bit of money on the table for the future, but as I said earlier, the money thing is say 20% of my values and what I'm focusing on. So it's like leave a little bit on that, lay on the table, to basically like leave all the other important things more full is the balance that I'm choosing for myself.
I love that, man. And I'm just excited to have you on way more regularly. Like, if there's questions that people have, or like ideas, because we think so differently, and I think good partnerships and good teams do think completely differently, that people have for like Hayden, now that he's going to be on much more regularly, like, it'd be really cool for them to drop them there. And if there's crickets just down there, then we'll talk about some of the stuff that interests us. There's stuff, not about you, just, sometimes people don't comment. Then and ask questions, then we'll just do our best to sort of have the conversations that are meaningful to us on the start of our journey, and also where we're at sort of in the middle of those journeys now as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think it's good for me to, it's like that category of fun and learning new skills. It's a totally new thing for me.
No.
I'm not comfy being a kid from the country sitting in front of the camera's a bit awkward for me. But yeah, I want to improve and grow and learn that skill. So
Nice.
I'm excited.
No, I'm awesome, bro. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
G'day guys, my name's Ben and I'm the director here at Pumped on Property, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you for watching our content today. Now, if you're thinking about buying an investment property in the next 3 to 12 months, then the team and I would love to offer you a one-on-one strategy session. In that session, we can talk about exactly where you are right now, where you'd like to be longer term, and we can deeply educate you on the Australian market. And then you can take that information and go and absolutely smash it on your own, or potentially become one of the small number of clients that we work with each week. To book your session, all you have to do is go to www.pumpedonproperty.com and click that book your free strategy session button. But either way, we wish you all the best on your journey as an investor to financial freedom.